Welcome in episode number 67 of the St0ner Sports Radio podcast. I am here inside the studio. We'll give you the recap of the NBA Finals. We will give you an update on NBA trade talk, coach signings, and more. We have recency bias topics to run through here and a lot to jump into. So welcome in to another episode. Joining me once again is my friend and co-host Zach Huffman here from the Huffman Cave, Huffman Home Studios, whatever you want to call it. Zach, how are we doing on this Be Happy Friday night after dark here?
I mean, we got Alex Caruso, and that's all you can ask for, right?
There is a rumor. It has been confirmed. Yeah, big time stuff happening in the first big trade, I'd say, of the offseason. I would say there was some couple signings that were kind of necessary. Pascal Siakam re-signs, Malik Monk re-signs. Big deals for both of them, respectively. Well deserved by both of those players. Look like they're locked into where they're at for the next 3 or 4 years. So that was kind of the minimal stuff, but the big thing, we'll jump into that here in a minute. But here is the biggest thing. Is the Celtics are your NBA Finals champions in, 5 games? Gentlemen sweep City, 4-1. Got the job done in Boston. Mavericks avoid a sweep. The biggest question, I'm sure you're dying to know, folks, is that going to apologize for saying that the Celtics were ill-equipped for the big men of the Dallas Mavericks, who only had like one lob through like 3 games. It's we'll see if he divulges. If not,
I have
to. Go ahead and kind of give me your analysis of this almost sweep of a series. I mean, I think we were both kind of disappointed with kind of how this series kind of ended up, but go ahead and give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean I was so wrong about the bigs not being able to handle Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. Like that was I couldn't have been more wrong.
I mean, you could have said that the Mavs were going to sweep them. I mean, you could have been more. You could have.
Definitely could have. I mean, I held a little bit of hope after Game 4. I'm not gonna lie.
I think we all did. I think we were like 40-point win. I mean, like that means you're on the right track, right? I mean, we're gonna get at least 6 games. I mean, I was thinking that might have been the case. I didn't think it was gonna go the distance, but I thought maybe get one more game down in Dallas, try to give yourself a fighting chance. Not gonna happen. The Celtics snatch the victory at home. I think I kind of agree with you with the fact that it didn't really go the direction we thought. Porzingis was a big factor in that first game, and then, of course, didn't come back until Game 5, and apparently forced his way onto the floor Game 5 and was like, I'm not going to not be on the floor, and they said that he had not necessarily told them that he was going to go, but, halfway through the game or something, he was like, put me in, and I'm going in. And Azula was like, all right, dude, go in. I got a torn meniscus. I'm still coaching. Go ahead. I mean, it was interesting to see kind of him fight through that, and I kind of think it shows some drive and dedication from someone who wanted a championship super bad. Of course, big congrats to Al Horford, a Thunder legend. Al Horford getting a ring after 13 long seasons, and now the player with the longest drought of playoff games without a championship is James Harden, with 186 playoff games played without a ring. So I don't know if James is going to overcome that, but Al Horford was right above him at like 193 or something like that. Of course, Karl Malone like 196 or something like that is the all-time leader there. Let's kind of go back here and kind of reassess. The Celtics now lead the NBA in most NBA titles. And the question was put forward, does this now mean the Celtics are the best NBA franchise now that they've surpassed the Lakers by one banner? Your thoughts?
I think no. Because the Celtics' first 8 rings were in like the 50s and 60s. Like I just don't care about them. Like they could like those 8 rings could not exist, and it wouldn't change my opinion of basketball at all.
I mean, that's a perspective. I think a lot of younger people kind of probably share that. I mean, I know I'm kind of
Bill Russell's first ring is older than the concept of double dribbling.
yeah, that's kind of wild.
That's how I
Yeah,
feel about
yeah, that's
it.
I think, but I also think you're right here. I think that you look at the Celtics and it's like, yeah, really really good franchise, like really good. But like you said, most of those wins came, with Bill and with, Red Auerbach and that whole entire system that they were running up there in Boston, and their biggest competition were the Lakers, really, and that was kind of the thing for quite some time. And I just think personally it's more, for me, it's more of like who is the more iconic franchise, and it's like you go to China and there's like Lakers shit everywhere. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
and I mean
totally
they
true.
love Kobe Bryant, but I mean, like, even without Kobe influencing the Chinese market, I think that the Lakers are still internationally more popular sports brand than the Celtics could ever wish to be, no matter how many titles they have.
Yeah, and the Lakers have what, 6 rings this century, and the Celtics have 2.
2008 and this one. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I think that kind of answers that. I wanted to kind of ask that because that was kind of put forward as of course Celtics fans are like, yeah, like it's us, numbers matter, 18-17, suck a dick. I get it. I get it. But I think overall, from an unbiased perspective, third party looking in like we are, I think it's just more of which franchise is more iconic. It's the Lakers.
I mean, I would argue that the Knicks are number 2.
I mean, that's a
If
yeah.
we're talking,
I mean,
if
brand
we're
wise, yes. Brand
yeah,
wise,
brand
yes.
wise.
Brand wise, yes. Um, but as far as like overall organization wise, I think the tops is still probably the Lakers. Now, obviously, in the last like 10, 15 years, I don't know if I can say that about the Lakers. Sure, you got a COVID
2020.
bubble title. I mean, go ahead. I mean, I'll give you that. I just don't know how much. I'm kind of in that camp of like, does it really count? I mean, it counts, but I
It
mean, like, it
counts.
counts, but I mean, like, it's
No,
just the
no,
circumstances were kind of weird. I
counts.
I
It
don't like it. I
counts.
don't like it.
Everybody else played the same games.
Vacate everything. It never existed. 2020 never was there. I mean, no, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Lakers have 8 titles in the last century. You got 2 for Boston. I think that's all you need to say, really. I think
Yeah,
that's kind of your argument made right there. What were your thoughts on, obviously now the monkey is off of Jason Tatum's back, right? You won a title, congratulations. But is the monkey really off when you don't win the Finals MVP? I mean,
it's
like,
not.
yeah, I would say, yeah, I don't think it is. I think it hurts his legacy to have Jaylen Brown have this Finals MVP in this moment, particularly.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different than Steph in 2015, right? Because he didn't win the Finals MVP and it went to Andre Iguodala, but we all knew that it should have gone to Steph Curry.
Hmm.
This Finals MVP is kind of a different story because we don't all think that it should have gone to Jason Tatum. I mean, we're all pretty happy it went to Jalen Brown, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a pleasant surprise. I think people kind of thought that Adam Silver and the NBA might bend the knee and just kind of, now the conversation's over. There you go. But no, I think Jalen Brown deserved it way over him. I think you could make an argument Drew Holiday probably deserved it over him. I think you could make an argument Derek White with his chipped tooth, gave more effort that could have deserved it, and more impactful performances than Jason Tatum had. He had good plays, but you have to look at the performances as a whole. And over the course of a series, Jaylen Brown was the best player in this series. Am I happy that that's the case? No, because I think that we got robbed of having other players that were supposed to compete for that time, for that accolade, fall off the wagon here.
Hmm.
Poor performances by Kyrie, mediocre performances from Luka at times. I think he played pretty well the whole entire series. I don't really have a
Luka was
lot of
the best
problems.
player in the series. I mean, that's that.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, obviously, he was never a good defender, so I kind of feel
Yeah.
like it's hard for me to accept the criticism that, like, oh, like his defense was atrocious. I'm like, but that's like his thing though. Like, he's not a defender. Like, he's supposed to have that backside help from Lively and Gafford to kind of, uh, you know, uh, remedy those blow bys that he allows.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging a 35-point triple double. I mean, you can't. He play? He should play better defense, yes, but like you can't ask him to just play amazing defense every play, or he's not going to give you 35, 10, and 10.
And you saw that in the Thunder series with the Mavericks because of all the effort that Kyrie was putting on the defensive side. His offensive numbers dipped
Yeah,
drastically in that series, and that's a reality. That's not just a him thing. That's NBA players in general. You have to manage your effort on both sides of the basketball to have an impact throughout the game on both sides effectively, especially when you're a superstar. Um, and I think that it just kind of worked out better for Kyrie in the series against the Thunder than it did, uh, you know, throughout future series in the playoffs for the Mavericks. Um,
yeah. I mean, and it's a variance thing, kind of like PJ Washington shooting 45% against the Thunder and then 8% against the Mavericks.
I just crazy, just crazy. Um, and speaking of Kyrie's performance, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but 99 points on 99 shots throughout the series. Did not shoot particularly well, 34% from the floor. Shot You take away the 135-point game he had at home, and this is one of the worst performances in a series we've seen from Kyrie Irving in his career. You're talking about not even averaging 20 points in 3 games in Boston. Um, 4 games, I guess, if you count the last one. Did he have 20 in this last one? I don't even
I
think
don't
he
know.
did. Um,
I know that it's been a terrible playoffs for him.
I mean, what would you give him on a grade scale? A plus F. What would you give him on a grade scale here?
Probably like a C minus because like I don't think I expected him to give me 25, 7 and 7. Like I'm not expecting that. Um, but he was putting up like 11 points, 12 points, like 15, 16 against the Thunder at times. He wasn't fantastic against the Clippers. The Wolves didn't put up a challenge, so I don't know how I feel about the Wolves series necessarily, but for, particularly watching the Thunder series and the finals, Kyrie looked better on defense than he normally does, but terrible on offense.
Well,
I mean, the
yeah.
dude could not hit a shot. He could not hit a shot in that final series. I mean, I watched him put up like 4 in a row, and it's always the same. It's always a pull up from the elbow, off of one pivot turnaround or just like a stop and pop at the elbow, and every time it looked like a bad shot, and it usually didn't go in. I don't know. I feel like most of the time those go in for Kyrie. Um, but yeah, in the finals and against the Thunder in particular, I just thought he was shooting terribly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said C minus as well. I said C minus because of the fact that the away games were so bad. You can't
Yeah,
you can I mean, I'm talking about the finals specifically. The away games were so bad. Like in the Thunder series, like I was
terrible.
saying earlier, I think the reason the offense was so bad because he was giving so much of an effort on defense. Like you said, I mean, it was
Yeah,
noticeably notched up, and I think that really does. I mean, your legs start to go a little bit more after you're using that effort, and I think that's what I said. You have to be able to manage your endurance, and kind of be like, all right, this is how much I'm gonna give. Like, I can't give 100% on defense because then I'm gonna give nothing on offense. And we saw games like that. And I think that
yeah,
we got to the Boston series, you saw him kind of try to be more offensively aggressive, and he just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, we're talking wide open threes. We're talking even some of those shots were just uncontested. The floater wasn't falling. I was like, oh, you're kidding. I mean that was it was killer in the previous series for him. Those shots were at least going. And the other question to you is how many of those points in those games even were in moments that even mattered because the games were already out of hand when he was making some of these shots. So it's like how many actual good quality buckets was he really giving you when it mattered?
yeah. I mean, I don't think he was impacting the series nearly as much as some of the other role players on the Mavericks. Like when you think about Derrick Jones Jr., when you think about um, PJ Washington, Derek
Josh
Lively,
Green.
Daniel Gafford, Josh Green. Like Kyrie wasn't having the effect that some of these other role players were having. Like the role players at some points in the finals, honestly, outside of I think PJ Washington shot pretty bad, but outside of PJ Washington, like the rest of the role players shot pretty well in the finals. And we saw like Josh Green in game 5. Like he played really, really well. And it just felt like Kyrie never had a game where he played well.
Yeah,
Like he except, when he had 35.
yeah, at home. Yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
thing, and, like, that's one game,
yeah.
sure, and
And without it, the
and
numbers are
then
awful.
yeah, without it, the numbers are awful, and do you need that 35 even to win that game? Like, I don't even think you needed Kyrie for that.
No, but from the perspective at the time, I was like, he needed that. I felt like he needed that.
No, it ended up not meaning anything
Yeah.
because as soon as he gets
Yeah,
back to Boston, it's
yeah.
terrible again, like,
I was hoping that
and
it
I
was
don't
gonna
know
get
how
him
much
back
of
on
this is
track.
I don't know how much of this is just like a slump thing as much as it is like a Kyrie in Boston. I
It's
mean,
gonna continue to be a conversation
it I
for
think
the
he's just
foreseeable
not really
future.
good in Boston, and that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have
I mean,
anything
you
else
saw them at the
to.
parade.
Yeah,
They did not like Kyrie. They
no,
were chanting some angry things about
very
Kyrie.
angry, racially charged for sure.
Racially charged. They had his jersey on a cross that they were like walking around.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Ooh,
Boston.
yeah, that's
That's
Boston for you.
Boston.
Yeah, that's Boston for you. Um, Here's my last question, kind of about this. Will you think we're going to see Luka in a finals ever again? Because this kind of feels like Dallas's shot in like, especially the way the West is trending. Like, there's so many teams that are young and upcoming that are good. And you're talking about a fifth seed Mavericks team that wasn't even supposed to be here this year, and you want to see him back in the finals. I know I'm going to say it first off right here. You're not going to see him in the finals on the Mavericks ever again. I'll say
I
it.
don't know about that. I
Ever
mean,
again.
they're one off season away from like pairing him with like Anthony Davis or something.
Oh, that's
Like,
us.
well, true. But I mean, it does depend because there are so many teams in the West that could go instead of him to the finals every year. Now, if you put Luka in the East, he's probably
Yeah,
going
yeah,
back,
that's what I'm
right?
saying. Like, I mean, like I'm saying for the
But I
Mavericks,
don't
like he's not
I don't
gonna.
see that happening. I feel like he's gonna stay with the Mavericks. I mean, if he doesn't stay with the Mavericks, he's just gonna go to the Nuggets.
Oof, to play with
So,
Luca,
yeah.
or play with, I said play with Joker, play with
Yeah, I mean, that's just
Nicola.
gonna that's what we have to prepare ourselves for mentally as NBA fans is Luka playing with Jokic.
I
And it's
agree.
just gonna be like crazy passes back and forth, and they're never gonna actually shoot.
This is the most low scoring games ever. Shooting
Yeah,
with 2 seconds on the shot clock from 40. I mean,
yeah.
um, yeah, no, I think that. I mean, overall, I mean, what do you give this finals grade wise? I give
Like
it a
a
D.
D. Yeah,
I
like a
give it
D.
I give it a D. It did not
It was
live up to.
terrible.
It was awful.
Here's the thing, you can't blame the Celtics for that. Like
No, no,
they
no.
just won.
Yeah, I mean, and we knew going in that like they were the better team. It was just one of those things
Yeah,
where
we
it
just
was
didn't
like
wanna say it.
Mavericks were playing so well. You're like, hey, like they look like a really, really unstoppable force. And like you brought up last episode, like the lobs, like that was a big thing throughout most of the playoffs. That they took that away effectively, and then for glimpses, it came back the last two games of the series. But I mean, like we didn't really see it like we saw it against the Thunder or against the Timberwolves, where it was just like four straight possessions of like half court, alley oops and shit.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't happening like that. And I have to credit the Celtics with that because I was definitely in your side of the argument of like this is going to be a problem, and especially if Porzingis didn't play, we were like it's going to be a problem. And to be honest, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter, and that's what's crazy because the Mavs were like they were like Lob City for like the whole postseason. They had like more lobs per game than any postseason team in history. It
Which
was
is
it was
wild.
crazy.
Yeah,
It was crazy what they were doing against the Thunder and against the Wolves in particular. Like it was just nonstop. Um, and yeah, like I'm thinking, especially no Kristaps, you would think that it would be nonstop in Boston, but it just wasn't happening. And it didn't even look like they were trying to take those. And maybe that was a Jason Kidd thing. I don't know. What if it was, then fire him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's. That's it for just. Well, there you go, folks. That's your NBA Finals recap. Unfortunately, not really much to say other than congratulations to Boston
Yeah,
Celtics
and then
fans.
it wraps up so quick that
Yeah.
now we have to talk about JJ Redick being a Lakers coach. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
wow,
that's yeah. Well, good segue, good segue, because that's the next topic up for discussion. JJ Redick is the new Lakers head coach. They signed him to a 4-year deal, Zach. Now the big thing about that is the Lakers haven't had a coach survive 3 years in the last like 6 coaching hires they've had. The coaches have been fired in 3 years or less. I, do you really think that JJ is going to endure his full entire contract? Because I don't think so.
I think so, but I I'm more concerned about what's going to happen with this podcast.
Loved it.
Like, how does this, how do we remedy this situation of LeBron and JJ Redick's podcast?
I yeah, I mean, yeah, that is that. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing for like where's the content gonna
They're
go?
probably still thinking about that, but I do think he's going to last. Is what they give him? Was it 3 years or was it
Four.
four?
They gave him four. That's what. That's why.
4.
That's why it made it so weird. Is because every other coach before him had not even lasted 3 seasons. So they give him a 4-year deal, and people are
Yeah,
like, "Well, is he just gonna get paid buku money that third deal after they fire him, or is he not even gonna get to past 2 seasons?" I mean, people are really thinking that this is not gonna work out, and I'm kind
I
of.
disagree
I mean, and did you go ahead? Did you go ahead and kind of divulge into that because I got my reasons why I think that, but like I want to know your reasons why you think he's gonna be just fine.
because I think with this hire, Palinka is more thinking long term. And he's not necessarily too worried about getting another title with LeBron, right? I think he knows that he's kind of got the opportunity to just let LeBron coast out his career, 2 more seasons maybe, get the farewell tour hopefully, so you just sell a bunch of tickets, um, and then coast out without a championship. But then you have to deal with what happens after that. And after LeBron retires, I think it's instantly going into a rebuild, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at maybe trading Anthony Davis, going into a rebuild, or you're trying to, sign someone and pair them with Anthony Davis for another win now thing. But the reason I think they hired JJ Redick is because worse things worse. In these next 2 seasons where you have LeBron and AD, you don't win a ring. And that's, whatever, LeBron's 40. Um, Best thing that happens is JJ Redick wins a ring with LeBron and AD. LeBron retires, and then you're able to rebuild with JJ Redick again. But I think even if they lose, I think even if they go, I mean, unless they go like sub 20 wins, right, or maybe even sub 30 wins, I don't see them getting rid of JJ Redick anytime soon. I think, like Palinka said, he views this as their heir at Spoelstra. Um,
Yeah.
but here I have a problem with that framing because Eric Spoelstra started in the film room and like worked his way all the way up to coach, and like this guy just went from being a 12 man on the Pelicans and then a 12 man on the Sixers. That's a lie. He was fine on the Sixers.
Yeah.
A 12 man on the Pelicans to broadcasting to head coach. Like he didn't do anything in between. He hasn't been an assistant or anything. So I could see that being a problem. Just like he hasn't actually like done a lot of coaching, but I don't know. I think they have him for the long term, and he must have been pretty impressive. Like I do think he's a really smart like basketball mind. So
Yeah. I mean, and the thing that sparked this was Dan Hurley turning down the money, right? I mean, we thought that Dan Hurley might take the money,
no,
and
that report was fake the whole time. Is the thing. Woj was faking that to get Dan Hurley a raise
yeah, so I was like, that's
because we're on Team Shams over here, and
a
Shams had
team shams,
Shams
team
had
shams, baby.
Shams had the report right the entire time. It was always JJ
Yeah,
Redick.
I mean, hey, I mean, well, the thing that scares me is um, you fire what's his face that's coaching the Suns now, um,
Which
ex
coach of the Suns?
Yeah,
Vogel?
yeah. You fire him after he wins a title. Like after
Yeah.
2020, you fire him. So what makes you think that like JJ would be safe regardless? You just think it's because he's like young, and I think it's just one of those things where it's like you're, as you said, looking at long term. Like, oh, I don't have to worry about this dude like retiring anytime soon, and I like his basketball IQ. Like obviously he's got that going for him. Like I think that that's kind of the luxury of being in the league so long and being able to literally watch the game from the bench because you're not playing. But I mean, like
I think you're
yeah,
I think you're underrating the fact that he has a podcast with LeBron, and that's like the best job security he has right now.
yeah,
It's that LeBron likes him. Um, he lasts probably at least until the end of LeBron's
yeah.
career.
I can give you that. I can give you that. I'll give you that. But is that 2 years? Is that
Because
three?
I
But
think
is that the full
we
length of the
talked about
contract? Is what I'm saying. Like, is that going to be
probably
four
not. I mean,
years? Like, I mean,
I think he stays. I think he makes the contract. I mean, but like we kind of said last time, like this is going to be a co-coaching situation. And when LeBron retires, he's probably going to buy the team or something.
yeah, he's gonna be
Like,
like a partial owner or something, like
yeah,
or what do they call? What was Phil Jackson, president of operations or something? But like,
yeah. But
but
like this is a
before that was
co-coach.
he? What was he when he went to? He was like a consultant, right? He was just a consultant. And I think that's what LeBron's gonna take the consultant route.
That's possible, but I mean, we're seeing a co-coach thing right here. Like
Yeah.
this wasn't a hire for the Lakers head coach. This was a hire for the assistant coach until LeBron retires, and then he
It's
gets
so
to take over
true.
as
It's
head
so
coach.
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I mean, maybe you're swaying me a little bit. Maybe I'm not as concerned. I mean, to be honest,
like
I don't.
I think like if they were in the mindset of like 2018 when LeBron just now signed, right?
Yeah.
Like if they were in that mindset, sure,
And
he probably
crazy.
doesn't make
Yeah.
it 2 years.
Yeah.
But like now, I don't think they're necessarily thinking they're winning a title anytime soon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting, that's for sure. But we'll see. The big news, like you said, is how is this podcast going to continue? What kind of content are we going to get? Are we going to get some inside, stuff here? Do I have to subscribe to the Patreon to get this footage of like, you and LeBron like in the office talking about like,
I mean,
matchups?
I don't think it can happen anymore, right? Like
That's what I'm thinking. I think it's over. I think it's
they
over.
can't continue it. I mean, maybe they can. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. We'll see.
I mean, I just saw Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson did a podcast with Tom Thibodeau, but that was just like him as a
Tibbs,
guest. So
Tibbs, baby. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. Um,
They asked him, they're like, "Why do you play us so much?"
what'd he say?
I don't remember.
Oh, that's a good question though.
If you can breathe, you can play.
Dang. um, so how about this though? Other than the JD Redick news, obviously the biggest thing, and you started off talking about this, was the Thunder straight up trade Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso to Chicago. No picks, no nothing. The Slob King is no more. The Slob Wizard is out to the Windy City. Um, RIP to the Slob King. RIP to the I only tip 20%. That's the max. Hey, I mean that's
You know how much I would pay to get this shirt switched from Giddey to Caruso?
all you have to do is
Bald,
just make him bald
bald
on that.
head,
Just make him bald and add a headband,
bald
and you got the
head,
same guy.
headband.
Yeah.
Dude, the
Just
aura.
sharpie it. Just sharpie it. Get some paint pens and do it yourself. Save yourself some
I
money.
need them to recreate this with Caruso.
I agree. It's gonna happen. I like the move. I think it's a smart move. I think the reason it's smart is because Josh Giddey deserves more playing time, and there's no way he's gonna get it on this team.
No, and he
Um,
was, well, I mean, you saw the reports probably. He was going to come off the bench next season.
he didn't
I
want
mean,
to do.
that was, he didn't want to do it. I don't blame him. And, I think the Thunder did the right thing trading him. And they also like did the right thing getting Caruso out of it because that's a win now move.
Yeah, it
That is a
is.
win now move. We just got our Derek White. Like that's what that was.
Or Andre Iguodala. Someone was making that comparison as well.
I
Um,
like Derek White
I know more. He's more like Derek White because they play the same position. I get it. I mean, it's
in the threes.
yeah. So well, and the thing is, Caruso was shooting terrible from three the last back half of the season. Wasn't he hurt though? I think he was. I think he was not
He's
healthy,
like
right?
career wise, he's like a 38, 39, 40% shooter. And that's all I care
Yeah.
about.
I just hope it doesn't continue. Is what I'm saying. I hope he's more reliable than Giddey was. It's hard to be less
Even if his
reliable.
3-point shooting,
Like
yeah, it can't be worse than Giddey. And like even if his shooting is terrible, he's still an
the defender.
all
Yeah.
defense. He's all defense. Like
and Yeah, and Lou Dort might not like the competition going in at first, but I think he's going to appreciate the help he's going to have on the floor when they're both there
Yeah,
simultaneously. I
I
think,
think he's going to be a lot more like appreciative of the fact that there are legitimately four all defensive guys on that starting lineup.
yeah, I agree. You're talking about Chet, SGA, Caruso, and Dort, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's all right. That's all right. We're on the same
And
page.
if you add Wallace, it's five.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, Wallace. But he's obviously coming off the bench. Is Billy Donovan gonna play Giddey off the bench as well for Chicago? Gonna say they
No,
got Kobe White, or is that gonna be?
no. Who else are they going to play? I mean, they one. Let's take a moment and just laugh at the Chicago Bulls. Fleeced, absolutely fleeced the Chicago
Oh,
Bulls.
oh yeah.
Like you just got a child predator, and we got Alex Caruso, all defensive second team, and we did that straight up, no draft picks.
Yeah, that was the best part
Wow.
when I was like, "That's it." I'm
We
like,
still
"That's
have
it.
25 million in cap
That's
space.
it."
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
crazy.
Sam Presti
The
does
rich
it
get
again.
richer.
Sam Presti does it
The
again.
the rich get richer. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's
Um, but yeah, that Chicago team, um, it's going to be terrible except for Kobe White. One, because in order for to make room for Josh Giddey, they are likely going to have to cut Lonzo Ball, right?
hmm
Which like sure he hasn't played in like 2 seasons or whatever, but when he comes back, he's going to be really good. And they have to cut Lonzo Ball probably, which is whatever. But they're also like probably trading Zach LaVine. Um, and who knows what they're going to do with DeMar DeRozan. But like that team's already like stupid mid,
yeah.
and Vucevic is asking to get traded. Levine's asking to get traded. I imagine DeRozan's probably out of there. And your best player, honestly, on that team right now is Kobe White. Even with Levine, even with DeRozan, the best player on that team is still Kobe White, I think.
Hmm.
And you're pairing him with Josh Giddey, which I think is actually a really good backcourt duo because Josh Giddey's more of a pass first, but he can still get his own shots, while Kobe is more of a score first, but he can still pass if he needs to. I think they work really well together. Um, and they're going to do a really good job getting that team to 35 wins. Um, but that's I'm being mean. 41 wins.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Take
They're
the
gonna go
award.
like exactly. They're gonna go like exactly 500, right? I mean,
Yeah, barring injury. Um,
yeah, I don't think this team is anything special. I think Giddey's gonna get a lot of playing time. I think he's gonna get his numbers are probably gonna be better than they were on in OKC,
do you think
but
you think he's in the
it's
running
inflation.
for
That's inflation.
you think he's in the running for most improved player due to the increased playing time?
No,
No? Okay. Okay.
because he had the playing time in the regular season. Is my thing. We took it away from him in the playoffs,
But I'm
and I
talking
think
about
that's like
like when you saw him go for 30 plus when SGA was out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like are we gonna see any of those games? Like, are we gonna see?
yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So wouldn't that be a huge improvement from his averages that he's been averaging in OKC? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, isn't it a big
No, we're
numbers
gonna see
difference?
some of those. We're gonna see some of those games, but we're not gonna see a lot of those games. Like I think we're gonna see him like average like 15, not 15 assists, but we're gonna see him average
I
like
was like, damn,
11.
I'm over
I
here
could
like shit.
like I could see him leading the league in assists. But I think he'll probably average like nine, like
Okay.
9, 10, something
Yeah.
like that. And that's gonna be a really good number for
Yeah.
him.
No,
And
that's great.
I hope he shoots better. Maybe there's like less pressure on
Yeah.
like a team that's kind of like a play-in team
Yeah.
to shoot well. Maybe
More
he'll shoot a lot
relaxed.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, he's still got like as of right now, he's still got Vucevic, he's still got Levine, he's still got
Yeah. You got
DeRozan to
tools. You got tools. You got plaything.
I
You
don't
got
know,
toys.
maybe he's a missing piece for them. I don't know. I don't see it though.
Yeah, I mean, I really think the Thunder won this thing for sure. I think there's no doubt about that. Um, I think this is, like you said, this is a win now trade, and I think it's a good move. So I think that kind of wraps up some NBA talk for now. We'll kind of dive back into that towards the end here. Let's kind of jump over to the WNBA. We talked about this a few days ago off the pod. Caitlin Clark not going to be a part of the U.S. national women's team that'll be competing in the Olympics. You were on the side of like she didn't earn it yet. Like, she didn't really deserve it anyways, so it's not really that big of a deal. Obviously, most of the media talking heads are like, well, for the game, like, like, who's gonna watch if she's not on the floor? Like, aren't you supposed to be growing the game? Why don't you have her on the roster? I don't want to watch any of these other girls play. I mean, I kind of understand that from a marketing perspective, but I kind of am with you on this. Like, what has she done to warrant being on this team other than being one of the best rookies that we've seen in the last 10, 20 years, probably, as far as having people come to games, having people tune in to watch? I mean, for Christ's sake, I sent you this not even 10 minutes ago or something, where they had to move the Atlanta Dream game from their arena to the Atlanta Hawks arena because they had 5 times the amount of people there than than the arena even holds. The arena holds 3,500 people. They play in a small one. They had to use the Atlanta Hawks arena because they had 17,500 people show up because Caitlin Clark was in town. So you see the impact, and I get the argument that the pundits are trying to make, but I think I'm with you on this. I just don't think that you can do that, especially with the animosity she's already providing to the league, with the fact that, like, it seems like there's some jealousy factor going on here. I don't like it. I don't like to play into that narrative because I don't like to believe it, but it's kind of hard when you see some of these, you know, just ludicrous fouls that are happening that you're just like, what the fuck?
Um, so I'm with you that she didn't earn it on for the USA team. And that's because like the USA coaches in the USA team, they honestly don't give a shit about growing the game. They just want to win. And they just want to make sure that they win, like, because the women's team has won like every year
Mm-hmm.
for like a
Yeah,
long time.
yeah,
Um, they're just worried about winning, and they're gonna win. Like, if they added her and took someone off, they'd still win.
yeah,
But like, they're just there to build the best team, and I think they did that. Um, they got like all the best players they could, um, that were like at least American born. Do I think she'll be on it next time? Yeah,
right.
probably. Um, but yeah, I'm also with you that like I'm tired of this like it's not because I don't think it is jealousy. I think a lot of these WNBA players legitimately like one either just like don't like her, which like that's fine, and a lot
Yeah,
of times that maybe it is jealousy, but I mean it's the same thing that would happen to like players when they talk trash about LeBron or stuff like that. Like, sure, I guess that technically could be jealousy, but I think it's more just like a basketball thing. Like, they just want to go at her because she's good,
yeah. I mean,
and
don't you?
that's
I mean, if I was playing against her, I would want some one-on-one defense
yeah.
time just to see if I could
Well,
do
it's
it. Yeah, I mean,
It's
like,
like wanting to sack Tom Brady, like,
yeah,
really hard, right? Like,
yeah,
it's nothing personal, it's just, like, you wanna be the guy that,
yeah. You want to
like,
be,
sacks
yeah, you
Tom
want to
Brady,
be the
like, you wanna
person
knock his
to,
helmet
yeah,
off.
yeah. You want to be the person to swat her shot into the stands. You want to be the
Yeah,
person that's, causing her to lose the ball some way or another. I mean,
yeah,
and make her earn it on her way to the rack because, like, f you rookie, like, you're gonna have to earn this shit. Like, I mean,
yeah, and that's a big part of it too, is obviously, like, the league has kind of, like, coddled her and brought her into the league as, like, the superstar, like, savior of the league,
yes.
and, like, it's no secret that the league has marketed her like that,
Oh yeah.
and that's not her fault,
No.
but that doesn't matter to these other WNBA players who,
I've
you
been there for
know,
for
got
years.
draft
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
got drafted in the second round and were lucky to make like the first week.
It's
Like, so they definitely feel a different, kind of way about it. Like, like Kennedy Carter, right? Like, she's probably not happy with how Caitlin Clark's been, just kind of ushered in. So she had an issue with it, her and her 3.8 points per game.
oof. Yeah, oof. I mean that's reality though, and so I don't really have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with them leaving her off, and like you said,
Yeah,
I don't think it changes the outcome of what this team is going to do when it comes to international play. They're gonna mop the floor with what they've got, and her being on there would change that, but it would change. I think, like we both agree, as how many people would watch, how many people care. Yeah, it's going to change that, but I mean, it's not going to change the
I
result, and that's what
barely
the coaches care about.
I barely watch like men's USA ball as it is.
That's what I'm
Like, it's
saying.
just
Like, you know how much Olympic ball I've watched? Like, probably a combined like hour and a
I
half.
watch I watch like the real Olympic ball,
Yeah.
like, and that's like only like the final game and like maybe like a couple highlights here and there. because we're winning by 50 every time.
Yeah, it's more
Like
it's more
it's
interesting
not
to watch the teams that we're gonna smoke than watch us. Like I would rather watch
exactly.
the lower level because it's competitive. Not that I
Oh
don't
yeah,
mind watching us blow teams out by 50, but like that's what we're
yeah,
supposed to do.
exactly. Like I'm gonna be watching Team Canada.
Yeah,
Like
baby. Let's
like
go.
I want to see
Oh.
this Jamal Murray SGA backcourt go to
Yeah.
work.
Do you think they're I mean, people are still thinking Jamal ain't gonna play, which I think he should.
I don't think it matters because the team that the USA assembled is going to run through everybody. I
Who
mean,
did they say could play for Oh, they said Embiid could still play for France technically.
no, he's playing for USA.
Oh,
They've
is
already
he?
set the team.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, do you not know the team because it's
no, no,
scary? Like
no,
because we
no. I
lost
I've
last
seen
time.
it. No, I've seen it.
Okay,
I knew they were talking about that earlier. I didn't know if that was because he was on it or not. But they're like, oh, he could play for
yeah.
France technically, or were they talking about? Uh, they could have been talking about somebody else, but I'm pretty sure they were talking about him. And I'm glad I mean he's on the team, but I guess he had the option. I guess right.
Well, yeah. Clay Thompson went and played for the Bahamas.
Oh, that's is he doing that again?
Yeah, it's him, Buddy Hield,
Buddy
DeAndre
Hield, maybe
Ayton.
he'd be
Um,
okay.
Yeah, they're gonna get smoked. I mean, I think we're really watching Team USA versus Team Canada.
Yeah.
Team Germany's always good. They just have like a good team. Um, Schroeder leads that team. They won FIBA back in 2022. They beat our USA team. Or the Canada team beat our USA team, um, which was pretty cool. But
Slovenia's got a team, right?
yeah, and Luka is
Okay.
playing.
Serbia
Um,
doesn't though, right?
Serbia does,
Okay,
and
okay,
Jokic will
okay,
be
okay,
playing.
okay. I didn't.
Um,
I thought I heard a rumor that one of the two might not make it, but I'm glad both of them did.
I don't know if Giannis is playing for Greece
Greece,
this year
yeah,
or
that
not,
was that. Maybe that
but
was what I was thinking of. I might have been thinking. I knew it was a big guy. I was probably thinking about Giannis.
it doesn't really matter because Team USA has LeBron, KD, Steph, Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, I think Damian Lillard, Devin Booker.
Ugh,
Uh,
that's nasty.
I don't
It's
even
it's
Tyrese Halliburton.
yeah.
And there's one more big probably Anthony Davis.
Yep.
Like this team is insane.
France gonna give us any trouble? Wimby gonna give us any
No,
trouble?
no, absolutely nobody is giving the U.S. trouble this year. It's just not going to be fair.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I just get flashbacks to that Argentina team that just rolled us with Manu Ginobili back in like 2008 or some shit. Like
No, just think about like what the starting five is going to be for U.S. Right?
massive.
I don't even know who it's going to be
Could be
because
anything.
you have to start Steph, you have to start LeBron, you have to start KD.
Hmm.
You're probably starting Embiid. Do you start Tatum or do you start Anthony Edwards?
Tatum, go big, go bigger
Or do
lineup.
you start Anthony Davis?
No, I
Do you
think you.
really need? I don't think you need to start Tatum there because you have LeBron and KD and with Joel Embiid, right?
Yeah,
KD's 7 foot.
but I would
LeBron's
rather. But
LeBron's big. He's
I'd
bigger
rather
than
have
Tatum.
AE coming off the bench though.
Why?
I just think
Why
he
not
adds
Tatum?
a. I just think he adds a better spark. I don't like Tatum's offensive game that much. I don't know, just in general.
Okay.
I mean, I
But you
think
gotta remember, you also have Devin Booker. You gotta think
that's
about
so much
like names.
scoring.
I mean, there's gonna be so much scoring no matter what. It's
You're
kind
gonna
of my
average like
point.
160 points a game. All right,
If
whatever.
Anthony Edwards starts on in the starting five, he can be your lead scorer, and
He-
that's scary when you think about that team being with Steph, LeBron, KD, and Embiid. Anthony Edwards could average 30 for you, and that's fine.
yeah, I'll win you.
I
Yeah,
think personally, I think we're going to see KD average like 40.
I need it.
I think
Inject it
that's
into
going to
my
be
veins.
this
Give me
year.
the
You
tarantula.
know, right before he decides to return to OKC for his last stint of his career.
Farewell tour. Um, yeah, but I think that covers some Olympic talk there. Let's jump into NBA draft a little bit. It's coming up. We got what 6 days, 5 days, something like that. It's
I
coming up
don't even know what's going
26th
to
of
happen.
26th, right? Is that right? 26th of June. Um, coming down to the nitty gritty here. Um, obviously the addition to Caruso for the Thunder, you think that deters them from going as hard after Cody Williams as we thought they might? because then maybe you can go big man and maybe grab Edie there at 12 and kind of be like, okay, we've got this kind of smaller defensive first guard that can kind of shoot threes when he's hot, like 40-some% career wise, like you said. But like recently, like in the season, didn't shoot well, but like you said, those averages usually pan out and kind of even out. Or do you think that they still go Cody Williams and we have brothers playing here and just kind of pick up a bigger guy in later rounds or free agency still go out off season wise, pick somebody else up? I mean, what are your thoughts now after the addition of Alex Caruso?
I mean, I legitimately have no idea, right? Because we could. I don't. I think we're still going to make another offseason move. I don't know if it's going to happen before the draft or not, but we're probably going to go get a big. Like it's probably going to be Claxton. It's probably going to be like a Hardenstein. So I'm not. I'm kind of torn as to what happens for the draft. If we don't have a big by the draft, then I could see us taking Edie. I could see us taking Klingon or like whoever. Um, I sent it to you not too long ago. We're looking at Jarace Walker out of Indiana. He hasn't.
Yeah.
He's not getting any playing time after the Siakam trade. Maybe the Thunder try to go after him, give a couple picks up to Indiana for that, or like you said, go get Edie. Um, or if they get Hardenstein, then all of a sudden, like I don't even know who you would pick because
Now
then you're just picking for depth, right? Because you
yeah.
addressed all the needs.
Yeah, it
Um,
has been rumored though that Hartenstein is going to re-sign with New York. It came out last night that
okay.
they're looking at a 4-year deal for him possibly. So it looks
Well,
like
even if
that.
it's not Hartenstein, it'd still be
Yeah,
another big.
yeah. So I'm
Like
saying
you're
like
still
I
looking
just
at
think he might be
Claxton.
off the table. Might still be Claxton or
Yeah,
something like that. But I mean,
still looking at Claxton, even Walker. Um, but like I've seen a lot Bub Carrington talk out of Pitt. Um, Thunder looked like they might take him.
I mean
That's
they've
been
had
that's
good
been a
record
huge
with
rumor.
Pit Bigs.
Yeah, I mean that's been a big rumor. Um, and then obviously Cody Williams. Um, yeah, there's like 10 guys that I feel like OKC could take,
Yeah,
and
well,
I
and
just
well, the thing is the biggest part about this that makes it so hard is Presti is so hard to read, and this organization as a
yeah
whole doesn't even allow reporters to go to like workouts for players. Like other franchises will allow reporters to come in and interview players that teams are working out. The Thunder doesn't even allow that. They're all closed workouts. That no one knows who's there at certain amount of times. There was one guy they knew that was there. I think it was a guy out of Dayton that went and shot a little bit, but they didn't
yeah
get to interview him or anything. But they knew he was there. Like they were like, oh, like we saw him, like he was just checking into the hotel. Oh, I know who it was. It was Jared McCain from Duke. That's who it was.
oh yeah
They were working him out, and
yeah I
but
saw him in the airport.
yeah, but that's the only one they know about that, like for sure. Like they do such a good job of keeping these things under wraps. I think that's what makes the organization so good is they're not as open, which sucks, for media members and stuff that I was a part of early on, working for the radio and stuff. That sucked because like you had no access really of anything. But I think overall, as far as an organizational tool of keeping things under rep, I think it's a good mantra to live by because you're doing this to people where we don't know what the fuck's going on, and I think that's a good thing to have as far as in-house knowing and being the only ones that know.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer it that way, like as a franchise, like as a fan, but also as a fan, like I want to know what's happening, and that's
Yeah,
probably not. And I'm
yeah,
never gonna know that, and that's fine.
yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, I think you're with me. Like I'm fully just in the ever since we've had Presti, we've had Presti since the Thunder started in OKC. I mean, he's earned my trust. I
Yeah.
trust him no matter what.
I mean, there's been duds. It's not like he's been flawless, but the thing is the amount of times that he's hit are still at an astronomically higher rate than most GMs
He,
for the amount
like
of
he's
time
the
that
best
he's been
GM
with
in
the
the league by
organization.
far. The only GM I could see being better than him right now is Brad Stevens.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
is the only GM I would accept somebody saying is better than Sam Presti right now.
I agree with that. But we all know that Sam Presti's got the most assets of any of any GM out there right now, right? I mean, he's
Exactly,
yeah. So I mean,
because he's the best.
yeah, he's and like you said, you'll concede to Brad Stevens. I mean, obviously, having a title as well kind of adds to that boasting of like, oh well, we don't have that yet, so who are we to say anything? But I mean, I think that going into this, as far as the Thunder are concerned, It could be anybody, and you just, like you said, just trust the process. I'll pull a 79ers or 76ers. Trust the process. Like, I mean, it's a
Trust the
Philadelphia thing.
process.
Trust the process. I think that as far as that's concerned, that's kind of where we're at now. As a whole, here, this NBA draft is one of the weakest classes we've ever seen. I don't,
I
I,
don't know.
I don't think, like, for instance, so like Reed Shepard does not deserve to be a top 5 pick. I'll just go ahead and say it. He's not that
I think you're
good.
sleeping on Reed Shepard.
I don't think he's that good. I don't think there's any player that in this draft that is really tantalizing like we've had. I think there's really good players. Like, I think Reed Shepard's gonna be a good player. Do I think he's going to
Rob
be?
Dillingham's going to be a great player.
Yeah, I think Rob Dillingham's gonna be great, but I don't think that they're going to initially start out well. Like, I think it's gonna be. I think no one's gonna come in here and have an impact where it's like, oh, this guy's really good. I think that you have some foreign guys that might have a little bit more of an instant impact than you have, Native American born players. But I think that you've got a good set. I think it's one of the most evenly distributed talent-wise in the first 2 rounds that we've seen in a long time. Like, I don't think there's, like I said, a player that like stands above the rest like Wemby did last go around.
Yeah. I don't know. I can see like a play. It's hard to tell, right? Because
Yeah.
you've seen a lot of these new draft picks. Like I don't know why I keep thinking of Scoot Henderson, where I'm like, that's a guy that we all thought was going to have an instant impact. Just invisible. I don't even think he made a rookie team. Like he just hasn't done anything. He's not even the best young guy on his team at this point. Like it's just Shaden Sharp. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a young thing, but I think that there are a few players in the draft that I think could make an instant impact, depending on where they get taken. Obviously, Alexander Sarr, I could see him having an impact in Atlanta, specifically in Atlanta with Trae Young. I could see Dillingham having an impact in Houston. I could see Shepard having an impact in Houston. Um, and another player I think is going to have an instant impact, maybe not at like the same like scoring role, but just like as a solid 3 and D. I could see Cody Williams having that impact on a team pretty instantly as being like a Case and Wallace kind of role. Um, but yeah, I mean, like other than that, like you're looking at a lot of older draft draft picks. You're looking at Edie. You're looking at Queen. Like we've we know that there's like a ceiling for a lot of these guys that some teams are just going to have to accept. Um, like I think with like Klingon, especially even with Edie, you're probably looking at like a Frank Kaminsky situation, right? Where like he's fundamentally sound. He was obviously really good in college, fundamentally sound, probably gonna get taken pretty high in the draft. And he's gonna have a good career. He played for like 11 years or whatever. I think I don't know if he's still on a roster, but he was playing for the Hornets like last season, I think. Um, really long career. He's gonna give you like 9 points a game, and that's you're happy with that if you get that in a draft pick and a lot of times because you could end up with a complete dud. You could end up with Anthony Bennett or something like that.
He looked
So
so good in summer league though.
he looked so good in fact. He was actually really good for about a 6 game stretch.
Yeah, he was. He was. I was like, oh, maybe this isn't bad. So
Yeah.
what you're telling me is I should bet all of my money in my bank account on us re-signing Mitch McGary. Bring back Mitch McGary.
I'll let you cook.
I'll let you cook. I mean, hey, he's had enough time. I mean, weed's legal now. Bring him back. bring him
I
back.
don't understand why we could.
We should. let him
Bring back
run with the
Dabo
blue for a little
Cephalosha.
bit. See if he's still got it.
Let's just
Um,
bring back Dabo Cephalosha. Bring back some guys just to put on the bench.
bring back Andre Robertson. Where's he at?
What's Ibaka up to?
Seriously though, didn't he making music or something?
Yeah, he's not on a roster, I don't think.
Yeah, he's
Man,
not.
that's sad.
He's not. That's sad. But yeah, okay. Well, hey, let's get into these recency bias topics because I mean we are flying through this right now. All right, here we go. Recency bias topics kind of spanning a little bit of different subjects. We had it specifically for like the NBA the last couple times because hey, it was the biggest thing going on. Now that's gone. So hey, guess what? We're gonna be sparsing it out a little bit. First question here. This is a big one. College football question to start out. Hey, college football. We're only about like 70 days away or something crazy. It's wild. Only like 8 Saturdays away.
I need it more than water.
Yeah. Now this was a good question that I saw brought up recently. Does it matter if you are a blue blood in college football anymore, or is that not really a factor as far as the success of your program going forward?
It's always gonna matter. It will always matter. Um, it's brand recognition. I mean, it's simple marketing,
Like,
right?
yeah,
Like when you're on a recruiting visit. Like I don't care if UConn, like if let's say Connecticut, and we're talking about football here. Like let's say Connecticut just hired Nick Saban. Like Nick Saban can come and do the recruiting visit, do whatever he wanted to do. At the end of the day, he's got the UConn Husky with playing. We're talking about football on his polo versus even like versus like a Brent Venables walking in with OU. The bankroll behind OU and just like it's a history thing. Like these players want to play for teams that they grew up knowing were great.
but like for example, like Georgia, right? I would not classify Georgia as a blue blood program, but players are going
I
to
would
want to play there
disagree with
because they've been. I know. Like, they're not on the list. Like they're not on the list with like
why
Michigan,
not?
OU, Texas, Alabama, uh, Notre Dame,
Why not?
USC. They're just not. They don't have that iconic branding. They don't have the history. Like they have the recency bias. They have the we've been good recently. That's what they've got. That's all they've got is we've been good recently. This is the start of, Kirby Smart's, Nick Saban's 7-year run of being, national title contenders. I get that. But I'm saying I don't classify them as a blue blood. I don't. I just don't. I don't classify my Oregon Ducks as a blue blood. I don't classify, you
Well,
know,
Florida's not.
I don't classify. I mean, I think Florida and Florida State are both blue bloods. I think I mean I will openly say that. I think that there
Okay,
is
okay. We're gonna have to have
is
this
is that
conversation.
not right?
Okay. So I'm with you. Georgia probably not a blue blood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like like
Um,
like they're the best
but
team
we're
in
gonna have to
college football,
define.
but they're not.
We're gonna have to define blue blood real quick. So I will name off blue bloods,
Okay,
and you tell me.
okay, yes
And
or
I'm
no?
like, I'm
Okay,
gonna name
okay,
off. I know a lot of them that are. You're just gonna say yes, like Bama,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
OU, yes.
yes,
Michigan,
yeah,
yes. Texas,
yes,
yes. USC,
yes,
yes. Uh, Notre Dame,
yes,
yes. Um, Nebraska, yes,
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 yes.
yes. 90s were good to
And
them.
then it's tricky here.
You wouldn't put any of the Florida schools down there?
LSU,
No, no LSU.
no LSU.
I'm talking about teams like let's say this from like World War II, like teams that were good during World War II, and like the 15 20 years after that, I think are considered the blue blood programs of America, right? Like obviously OU is there because they got the 47 game winning streak, fantastic program. Like you do talk about Bear Bryant, you talk about you know Bo Schembechler, you talk about these iconic coaches at these big schools. Georgia's just not in that conversation. I mean, you could probably make the argument that like Florida doesn't really deserve to be in the conversation, but you have to give me Florida State, right? I mean, I feel like that's, or is that too recent? Like I feel like is that, have they been around long enough for
I think
successful enough?
Florida State might be.
I think they're on the cusp. Like they're like on the bottom end of the
They're right
spectrum.
there. If they're in, Georgia's in. That's how I feel.
I don't feel that
If
way.
they're in, if they're in, LSU is in. That's how
It's
I
okay.
feel.
I mean, if that,
LSU's got four, like
but I mean like were they
over
winning them
many
back in the
different eras.
70s, or like were they winning them back in like the
Yeah,
80s? Like I mean like who were the big teams then? Like that's because when I think about those eras, I don't really think LSU. Like I don't know why I don't. Should I?
they
I
had
mean
one
like
in. Let me see. Where is it? 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 Where is it?
I mean, do we put Oklahoma State in the conversation? They got a
Bro, they won.
1945.
They won. LSU won a chip in 1958, dog.
Eh,
They
if
were
it,
winning them. OU was on their streak.
But like, what was the gap after that though? Was it like
Oh,
58 to?
2007.
Oh yeah, that's a big gap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Well,
too big of a gap.
it depends if you count their 2004 or 2003, the one that
Yeah,
belongs to USC.
yeah. Which I don't know. They're gonna give it back to USC for sure.
They already did.
Okay, good. I mean, but I don't think it matters as much to kids these days. I really don't think it does. Now, when you bring up like Connecticut, like yeah, but I'm talking about if you're walking into Georgia's facilities and then you walk into,
I,
USC's facilities, you're
well, I'm
probably
with you
more
that like,
likely to go to Georgia.
well, I'm with you that I don't think it matters as much if they're choosing between like Florida and OU. Like, I don't think it matters
Yeah,
as much
that's
there
what I'm
because
talking
these
about.
are
I'm not
both like
talking
Big
about
Ten
like
schools.
the tiny
But like, I
schools.
think it does matter if you're talking about like Oklahoma State versus OU.
Even Oregon versus Georgia, like you're going to Georgia, you're not going to Oregon. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like I understand that, but
but
like
that's
that's,
because you also have to remember that's because Georgia is closer to that blue blood status, right?
I mean, I don't know about
Wait,
that.
one more. Penn State?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll say it.
that's
Yeah,
eight.
yeah, I'll
I
say
think
Penn
they
State.
tapped out like eight blue bloods.
Yeah, I think I mean, I think
Because
there was.
there's like the seven that
Yeah,
are in.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like there's like a solid seven, and then after that, it's like you can debate the rest of them. You know what I'm saying?
There's like one spot left, and you gotta
Yeah,
debate it because I
yeah,
think you can like max out at like eight right now.
yeah.
Because if you met in the second we add a ninth, we gotta kick out
Yeah,
Nebraska.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like it's been a while. Like it's been too long. Like
We gotta
the
kick out
gap is getting
Nebraska.
pretty big, and the decline has
Notre
been
Dame. Yeah,
rapidly. There's
by the way.
rapid decrease. Like like you want to see the 2008 housing market graph. You look at in Nebraska win totals, and they match up pretty good.
Yeah, and like, how much longer are we gonna let Notre Dame claim these 30s like championships? Right?
See that's the other thing is it's like, but for me, like it's, I mean, like the thing about Notre Dame is like yes they won a lot of games and stuff, and like yeah you said like they dominated like those early decades.
Yeah, they dominated the girls' high school for the deaf.
Yeah, like a I cooked them barbecue chicken. I mean, are we gonna add Georgia Tech into the mix? They beat Cumberland 222-0. I mean, are we gonna add a blue blood Georgia Tech?
Might as well.
I mean, yeah, but I think it is a legitimate conversation to start having because I think we're starting to see that, especially now with NIL money, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can't put Clemson in the conversation. I mean, for Christ's sake, they're not even using the portal. I mean, they're not in the conversation. Were they in the conversation 5 years ago? Hell no, because it's fucking Clemson. Like, when the hell have they been relevant in the last 100 years? Not in like the last 100 years.
20, like 2016, 2017,
Yeah, like what I'm saying, like,
2018.
were they relevant in 1916? They weren't even a school then, all right? I don't even think South Carolina was a state then. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but the plantation that Clemson is built on probably was a thing.
Ugh, yeah, true. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I guess it's going to be a conversation that it's going to have to be had probably on a yearly or every other year kind of basis because the game is changing. As far as like
I think
recruiting and stuff and building a team.
yeah, like, I don't think it matters too much when you're talking about like schools that have it and schools that don't,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like Florida State, those are schools that have it.
yeah.
That's oh, here's another one that people I saw about a lot of people talking about blue blood status. You talk about Florida schools. What about Miami?
I mean,
They got the numbers.
yeah, I think you have to say yes. I just think they're in a really bad last
I think
15
they're in that
years. Yeah,
kind
they're
of
in the, yeah,
they're
they're
in
in,
that
yeah.
eight spot.
Yeah, they're
I
in
mean, the same as Nebraska,
yeah, they're in the
right?
Nebraska hole. They're in the Nebraska hole.
And they're
Um
better than Nebraska. Nebraska, at least, like Miami's got one more recent than OU.
oh yeah, that's true. That is true. That is sad, but it is true. Wait, is that true?
Yeah,
That is true.
yeah.
I mean,
one.
I keep I'm forgetting that I'm thinking about appearances and not wins. I'm like, oh, you've
Yeah,
definitely been more than Miami's been in.
yeah. We just don't win them.
Yeah. But yeah, I know the feeling. But yeah, I mean, but not
Mariota,
as much. But I know the feeling. Um,
Mariota got to one, didn't he? He
yep,
got to the Natty.
that was
Yeah,
the Auburn one. Don't want to talk about that one. Dryer's knee was down. That's all I gotta say. It wasn't, but I mean, I'd like to believe it was. I mean, Jeff Mail, fantastic catch in the end zone to what I thought was possibly forcing overtime. Didn't happen.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about controversial, Oregon game calls, then we can.
Hey, we had the ball. All right, I don't know what you're talking about. Gordon Reese said we
Yeah,
had the
and
ball. I trust Gordon Reese. I have a shrine to Gordon Reese in my house.
yeah, and Dez didn't catch it. Sure.
He caught it. He caught it. I will forever agree with you on that. But yeah, so that's our first topic. The second one is your boy Brent Venables getting a 6-year deal. A lot of people were kind of shitting on it because they were like, "Oh, the last time that an OU coach lost to both Kansas and Oklahoma State in the same season, like their rewards were not getting an extension. It was, hey, you're getting canned, brother." But I don't think that you can really apply that to this situation because of the direction that we see OU going in program wise. You're seeing the defensive recruits becoming better and better, which is what you're going to have to hang your hat on in the SEC because we just know that's how that kind of rolls as far as that conference goes. And I think that that's just the way VV is going to have to build this team. Are you excited for the next 6 years of Brent Venables? Or are you guys gonna be paying out some big buyouts here in about 3 years?
Brent Venables is the second or third best coach in the SEC, and I'll defend that today. I mean, I don't see any issue with giving him a 6-year extension. I guess he hasn't won a national championship yet, but like neither have most coaches. And you could argue that Brent Venables has won a national championship as defensive coordinator. He's actually got two of them. Actually, he's got three of them because he won one with OU as well.
Mhm.
Um, I'm happy with it. He's a good coach. I think he's a great coach, and I think he's the reason that our defense is going to be really good. I think OU is going to be a lot better than most people think
Do
next
you
season.
know? Do you know the other two coaches that lost to Kansas and Oklahoma State in the same season?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. It was like one of our '90s coaches and one of our '50s coaches, probably.
Howard Schnellenberger and John Blake.
Yeah,
Those are the
John
two.
Blake.
Um,
Yeah, and like, sure, we can
but
talk about losing to Kansas all we want. Kansas is good. Okay, this is not like when
but
Texas lost to Kansas in
yeah,
2021.
exactly,
Like
exactly,
Kansas is good.
exactly. It was someone was saying
Lance Leopold is nice.
yeah, they were saying on X that Brent Venables was losing to Kansas right when it started being cool, so it's okay. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
like
yeah,
it was
like
cool that like when we lost to Kansas, I was sitting there and I was mad because I was in the middle of moving when we lost to Kansas
oof,
and it sucked. So I was like watching on my phone as like we lost like the actual game and I was like, wow, Twitter's gonna cook us because we just lost to Kansas. But this Kansas team is good. That's
yeah.
all I just kept telling myself that because it was true.
No,
And it's true.
and the thing is, it's more about the way you guys lost that game than losing it. I think it was like you had that pick by Ethan Downs, and I
There
thought the
was a
game was over.
delay.
Yeah, it was a weird game. You guys
Like
never
I
do well
think
with delays. You lost Texas Tech with that rain delay. Rain delays screw you guys so bad.
it was just a weird game, like and, like, going into it, it felt weird, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it.
Like
I
and then,
had that
like, yeah,
feeling.
like, delay and yeah, it was just like and we had just lost, the week before, I think, was the no, it was the week I think the week after was when it who did we lose to? I gotta look up the schedule now. We lost to Kansas. Oh, no, we had barely beaten UCF the week
Mm,
before. I
yeah,
remember that.
that's right.
It was
Yeah,
that ugly Central Florida game. Ugly. That was after we beat Texas too. That was terrible. And then we lost to Oklahoma State the week after.
yeah. So, a rough way to end the season, but I mean, still, I mean, got to a bowl game. I mean, they got cooked, but I mean, like that was, I mean, you didn't have your starting quarterback, so you can't really say anything about that. Growing pains. And that leads
Yeah,
us to the last topic here. Your topic that you wanted to bring up here. Way too early, 2024-25 NBA title contenders. We're giving them to you right now. Zach, give me your top three heading into the upcoming season. Way too early. Put your bets on them now. Three.
first things first. Celtics are not allowed because they just won, and they're obviously a contender for next season.
Fair.
And that's no.
I'll give you that.
Number one is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay.
Obviously,
Obviously.
just obviously, like they're adding depth, they're adding defense. You can't ask much more. already a contending team. I think they gave the Mavericks more problems than anybody except the Celtics. That the OKC team was the second best team in the West in the playoffs, and I'll stand by that. Second is the New York Knicks. They are they are coming, and them young boys are coming. I'm telling you that right now. Uh, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, they're probably re-signing Hartenstein, and they're getting Mitchell Robinson back healthy. Julius Randle coming back healthy. I'm curious to see how the team kind of meshes because someone's going to have to get pushed to the bench. It's probably Hartenstein,
Hardenstein. Yeah.
because like that's what he came from the
Yeah.
bench, so that makes sense. But like DiVincenzo is going to be firing on all cylinders. It's going to be great. Finally, and this one's going to throw people off. Maybe not so much because they made the conference finals, but I'm going Indiana Pacers.
Ooh. Okay.
Um, Siakam Halliburton works. I don't know
Don't
why it
forget
works.
about McDonald.
Yeah, true. TJ McConnell is a beast, but you kind of look like TJ McConnell just a little bit with the hair.
It's true.
But
I'm channeling. He's
yeah,
about to get his money too. Apparently.
yeah, he will. But that Halliburton Siakam duo, it works. I'm not sure why yet, and I think that's probably why it works because I don't think teams can really figure it out. Because Halliburton's gonna get like his assists. That's gonna happen. Like he's probably gonna lead the league in assists next year. If it's not Trey
Yeah.
Young, it'll be like 11
Yeah.
assists. Um, and
Points
like
a thing.
they're the kind of assists that aren't like they're not going straight to the basket. They're not like catch and go up.
Yeah.
That's kind of
It's like kind
assists.
of like dribble handoff, like
And
bounce
like
pass.
he's
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's stuff like that. But he's just getting the ball in good position.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
he's really good at I think he's really good at finding mismatches. So he's really good at getting Siakam the ball down low when he's got someone smaller on him. But it's almost like his assists are almost never lobs,
Yeah. They're not flashy.
and they're
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
they're almost never like directly to the basket flashy. They're always just like getting the ball to the
Very
mismatch.
fundamental. Fundamentally sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like fundamental assists. Like you get the ball to the mismatch and they score within a certain amount of time, so it still counts as an assist or whatever. Um, That I mean, it just works, and I think that team's going to be really really good for the next few years, at least until Siakam falls off a cliff, and then they're going to sign Zion, and it's going to be okay.
All right. I like
Um,
them. I like it.
but
That's good picks.
yeah, yeah, I want to do like probably like one more in the West real quick.
Yeah. Go for it.
Um, this could be controversial, and I don't mean it to be controversial, but it's going to be controversial. San Antonio Spurs.
Oh. Oh. All right. Eh. I mean,
San Antonio Spurs are one off-season move away from being a contending team. And when I say they are one off-season move away, I mean they are one off-season move away from getting Trey Young and becoming a contending team.
I mean, you could give them the assets, I guess. Um. All right. I mean, I like it. I like the
Wemby's
reach. It's a
coming.
little bit. It's a little what?
Wemby's coming. All right, it's just a matter of time,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I'm
yeah,
trying to get
no,
ahead of it.
he's yeah. I get it. I get it. I get the little reach. It's a little bit of a reach, but I'll accept it.
But like it's a reach that I'm willing to stretch for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
Just like yeah, it's a good one to stretch for. All right. I'll give you my four here. We'll go no particular order here for me.
4 for 4.
Um, well, because you had so I'll have one that's kind of like like a kind of a reach I'm willing to reach for. My top one is going to be a little bit controversial to start out with because I don't think anybody's talking about the revenge tour that's about to happen for the Denver Nuggets. They're coming. They're coming.
Yeah,
The Denver Nuggets could be coming back to be another, at least Western Conference Finals contending team at the least, and that'll give them a shot. It'll just depend on who they're playing against.
it
And
felt
I
too easy. Felt too easy to take that. You know,
Yeah,
it just
it was, and my second one I think is still going to be Oklahoma City as far as another team I'm thinking of, especially with what they've done so far. If they continue to do more moves that make more sense and they continue to build what they're building, I think that is more of a solid pick for me. But I don't think that even national media can deny the success that is about to come out of the state of Oklahoma. I think there's definitely something that's brewing here that I think people are starting to recognize. And sure, it took people that didn't get to see this team play throughout the season, considering we had like 4 national televised games throughout the season. It took them the playoffs to kind of realize, oh shit, like this team actually is like not only young, but like oh shit, like they can do it. And I think that it takes, like you said, a series like the Mav series to kind of shape and mold young players' brains as far as what the playoffs entail and kind of what they have in store for young guys that have never been there before. And I think it was a good learning experience. And yeah, sure, it didn't end the way you would have liked to have ended, but I think that in the grand scheme of things, it was the right thing for the growth of the team, and I think that that's kind of why their upward trajectory is kind of trending that way. Third team I'm gonna throw out here is from the East. And like you said, I'm not going to choose. So I think the 76ers. I think it's time for the 76ers to kind of make a run. I think they're going to have to make an offseason move that's going to be substantial. They got to bring in Paul George or something crazy to try to bolster more weapons. I mean, if they can bring. I mean, the question is, are they going to bring Buddy Hield back? I think they need to. Um, I don't know if they're going to, but I think they need to because I think they need that shooting. I think that they just really need to bolster their offense. I think that when you have guys like Embiid and Maxey that can put up tons of points, you need your role players to just be better. And I think that was kind of where their shortcomings were, whereas the role players just weren't there, and Buddy Hield didn't get enough playing time. In my opinion, I think if you would have played him more, I think you would have seen more offensive success against the teams they were playing in this in the playoffs that they couldn't get over the hump with. And my fourth one that I'm stretching for, but pleasantly stretching for, is out of the East, and I'm gonna go Milwaukee Bucks. I I
Right.
I think that I think it's a little bit of a stretch because I don't really think that I just think they're missing some pieces that I don't know if they're going to be able to fill those holes to the point where they can get past a team like the Celtics or a team like the Knicks or a team. I think that those teams are a little bit more put together. I think you look at Milwaukee and you're like, oh, you've got two really good All Stars, and you lost one of your best defending two-way players in Drew Holiday, and it seemed kind of like they kind of lost a little bit of that. And obviously, not having Giannis was devastating, and that's why the Pacers advanced. But I think it's a reach because they were so underwhelming this season that it seems like a lot of people aren't buying in that they're going to be competitive this upcoming season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's true. I could see. I mean, I could definitely see like the Sixers and the Bucks both winning the East, no problem.
I just think the Knicks and Celtics are more put together, but I think if you look at the problems that both of those teams have had, now obviously the Celtics haven't had problems. I mean, you can't really say they've had problems when you win it all the way they did, best record in the NBA, but one of the first teams to have the best record and win it in a long, long time. Um, but I think you look at the Knicks and the injury bug. If they can keep that away, that's going to be big for them because that was the biggest story this last season. They can keep that away. I think they've got a really good position. Um, I think you look at the Pacers and you look at what they did, and you look like I mean, I feel like they kind of benefited from those injuries and kind of made the most of it. And
Yeah,
you have to kind of congratulate them for that because it's like they did exactly what you're supposed to do when presented the opportunities. You have to take advantage, and they did until there was just none they could grasp. And I think that was kind of the way that went. And the Celtics are just, I don't think anybody was looking at that Celtics Pacers series going, oh, the Pacers are really going to take this thing to like 6. I really think that people were like, they've played really well, but this is where the road ends. I think no one was
yeah.
like, this is if it had been the Knicks, I think people would have given the Knicks a better shot of squeaking past the Celtics than people were giving the Pacers, and I think that's rightfully so. And I think it still would have been rightfully so if somehow they'd been able to, but obviously with Jalen Brunson's broken hand, having to deal with that in the next round would have made probably the series just as mundane as the Pacers series was. I don't think he would have gotten. It would have been just as easy for the Celtics to get past a no Brunson, no Randall, no Mitchell Robinson Knicks as it was to just get past what the Pacers had on the floor. I think it would have been just as easy, if not easier. So I don't think we would have
Hey,
gotten a good Eastern Conference Finals regardless of what
you
had
got to be
happened.
careful. I be careful, or some Celtics fan is gonna like clip this and say that the Celtics are underdogs. That season.
Let them believe it, because I think that the Celtics are going to definitely underwhelm next season. I think once you have something like this happen
Don't
where
put
people
that.
have been dogging you for getting this monkey off your back, you start to relax a little bit. I don't think the hunger is going to be there like it was this season. I just don't. I don't think Tatum's going to want it as bad. I think Jaylen Brown's not going to want it as bad. I mean, you can clip it, Celtics fans. Go ahead, clip it. I mean, I don't give a shit.
Flip it.
I think that they don't want to
Stop
go
flipping
back
with.
to back. They think the job is done. You're not going to see the Celtics win another one for 16 years. Have fun with that. You know,
Whoa, Xbox. Listen, report that. Report that.
call the hotline. I didn't say that we're going to get the finals. Um, but um, but I think now it's the time for some of these other teams to kind of take the spotlight, whether or not. I don't think the Celtics are going to be uncompetitive or anything. Like I said, I think they're still a really good team, especially if they can keep this core together that they've gotten. Um, and like you said, that's the reason we couldn't choose them in this, analogy, was because they're the defending champs, just like we wouldn't have chosen the Nuggets last season. So I think that's just the way it is. Anything else you want to add before we skeetle on out of here?
The Edmonton Oilers forced Game 7 against the Florida Panthers after being down 3-0.
Will you be watching?
No,
Okay, there you go.
but I will be keeping up to see if a 3-0 comeback occurs.
I'll tune in the third period if it's close.
I mean, they forced a Game 7. That's
Yeah, I mean, and we commended the Celtics for doing the same thing last season with the Heat. Um,
and they really forced. I don't know if you can see that.
oh yeah, no, yeah, 5-1, yeah.
They really
Their
forced a Game
goalie
7.
had an assist. That's how you know you got cooked. The goalie had an assist on a goal. That's how cooked you got, Panthers. I don't know if we've seen. I mean, this collapse is so funny to me because the Panthers did the same thing to the Bruins last year, where the Bruins had the best record in the NHL and were up 3-0 against the Panthers, and here they come, a 4-game winning streak, and then Panthers ended up getting pretty far in the playoffs, and they were like an 8 seed. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy, and that's what makes hockey so weird. It's kind of like baseball to me. Like, it's like you have these teams that are like not really good throughout the regular season. It only takes a few good days, and you could be going home, brother. And it's
Good.
wild. Way more wild than some of the other sports when it comes to the consistency of higher seeds ending up advancing. It's definitely more animosity in these other sports. Um, well, episode 67. We've got our first conference preview coming up. Me and Zach have not decided where to start it yet, but we're gonna start somewhere, and we're gonna get that for you guys next week. Because it's time. It's time.
Sunbelt, baby.
Ooh, Sunbelt, baby. I know nothing. I know. I'm I'm in trouble, boys. I need to do some research.
You gotta hurry up before this new college game comes out, or we're not going to be active for a couple months.
Hey, we're gonna be active, but we're not gonna be doing this. We're gonna be probably playing each other and giving each other, absolute migraines. But that's fine. We,
I'm about to out recruit the shit out of you.
yeah, you better hope that it's not just a point based system. You better hope you got that NIL money stacked for your children of the corn team or whatever you're.
I'm picking my team based on amount of car dealerships in town.
Hey, there you go. I see you, Louisville.
We're going whichever town has the Lambo dealership. We're getting those NIL deals going.
There you go. That's what was it Texas? Texas has them down there. And it's all lined up outside the facility. Wild stuff
Texas
there.
fans got so mad at OU for doing that years ago, and then they come and do it.
Yeah, copycat pussies.
Exactly what they are, a bunch of copycat
Oh
pussies.
my gosh. All right, man. Well, appreciate you coming in. Late night episode wrapping up. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll get these clips out. We'll see you all for our first conference preview coming at you. So we'll let you know how your team's gonna do, how many wins they're gonna get, and we'll just let you know whether you need to watch your games this season or not. That's what we'll let you know.
It's
Whether you
really
can.
that simple.
Yep, it is. All right. Well, for episode 67 here at St0ner Sports Radio Podcast, keep a stick on the ice. We'll see you for episode 68.